Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. You could be watching this tomorrow and it's belated, or you're actually watching it live with us now. I am joined by former heavyweight champion, who is now the WBO interim heavyweight champion, Joseph Parker. Thank you so much for coming on. I've been chasing you. Haven't I? I've been
Right.
chasing you around, haven't I? And you've been like running and avoiding me.
No, it was so good to see you in London, and now that we're able to catch up properly, it's been a while, but I've been in New Zealand. I tucked myself away. I've been training since April. I've just been head down, grinding every day and putting in the work and preparing for fights that haven't happened yet, but surely something will happen soon.
There is so much going on in the heavyweight division, but Joe, you know what I'm like. I like to go back, because I like to go back to discuss what's happened, and then we can talk about
Yeah.
what's happening now and what's happening in the future. I will start off by saying I personally believe you are the most improved heavyweight in this era. I watched you fight the Anthony Joshua fight, and we're going to come back to that because I think that's going to be significant for now. But so far, Joe, you were a world champion, and I've said this before, at such a young age. Were you what, 24?
24 years old, WBO champion of the world. Young, very young.
And how
And
was that experience? Yeah, talk to us about that.
you know, all your life you want to be champion of the world, and that's the goal when you start boxing. And you take the steps to get there. You become an amateur fighter, and you travel all around the world. You gain experience. You fight internationally. And you fight all the top guys. And I felt like that was a great start. And then throughout the professional career, I signed with Dubois events,
Yeah.
6-year contract, and they definitely kept me busy in the beginning of my career. I had 5 fights in 2014, 5 in 2015, 5 in 2016. And then I was able to fight Andy Ruiz, who's a very good fighter, strong, fast, powerful. And I was able to beat him. It was a close fight, but I was able to beat him back home in New Zealand. And to become champion of the world at 24, you get recognition, you get money, you get invitations to a lot of things and a lot of places and a lot of events. And I did take the opportunity to enjoy myself. And I think I enjoyed myself too much at 24, And I sort of like, you reach the championship of the world, and that's what you've been trying to achieve your whole life. And then what do? What's next? Like, obviously, I wasn't thinking about unification and thinking about being the unified champion of the world. So I enjoyed myself, and I went through ups and downs. And then, I had my team and my family around me supporting me and advising me and telling me, giving me good advice and suggesting that I should get my life on track, and you know what I mean. So, and I was able to do that, and thankful to my wife and my kids because they were able to help direct me in the right path. And I love boxing. I love training every day. I love what I do. I have the best team in the world, in my opinion. I got Andy Lee, who looks after all the boxing. I have George Lockhart, who looks after nutrition, cooks all the food, does the strength and conditioning, does the recovery. And I think these two together, and myself, we've had some massive changes in the last year and a half. And sitting here now, I feel like I'm going to take over. I really do.
That's the thing with you, getting there so young, but you can look back and, they say hindsight's a wonderful thing. You can look back and say, oh, maybe I should have done this. But Joe, if you'd done it like perfectly right that time, would you be sitting in this position now with that hunger? Because like you said, you win the belt, you're a world champion. And the first thing is, well, what do I do? You mentioned that you had some ups and downs. What would you say were the downs that you actually learned from that have helped you to get to where you are today?
Like the downs are just like everyone talks about depression. I didn't even know if I was depressed or not. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just enjoyed myself too much and achieved this goal that you always wanted to achieve in life. And then what's next? And then you sort of just get into the wrong crowd and you do things that you're not supposed to do. But I'm very fortunate and very blessed to have a loving family and a loving team who want nothing but the best for me. And they were able to help get me back on track, winning the world title at a young age, like now, sitting here now, if I didn't experience all of that, I wouldn't be sitting here appreciating what I have now. I appreciate the team I have, the opportunity that I have, and I appreciate the level that I've been at. And I know that there's a lot more that I can achieve. And that's when you have these ups and downs, when you learn about being champion of the world and what comes with it. Now I can see it now. And if I do it again, if I win it again, or when I win it again, it's going to be the best, because I know how to stay at the top now.
I like that, staying at the top. Your trainers, Andy Lee, I'm a massive fan of him. I like his style of training. He's actually a fighter, because not all previous fighters can really turn and be good trainers. Yes, there can be trainers, but you know, not necessarily good trainers. Andy Lee and yourself have gelled really well. The fight that you had, I think, with Derek Chisora, you can talk about the fight that you had with Joe Joyce. And this is when you're on the mend. This is when you're on the comeback. Talk to us about those fights and learning and actually gelling with your coach. But like, really pivotal time in your career, that is.
It was a critical time. You know, I left my coach, Kevin Barry, who we had 8 years of a lot of success. And that's all I knew. And Kevin was a great coach. He gave everything. But I felt like at the time I needed change. And I asked Tyson Fury, I said, who can I train with? And he suggested Andy Lee. So one thing led to the next. And after I had a fight in New Zealand against Junior Fa, I flew to Ireland like the next week to meet Andy and to prepare for Chisora. And I think that the first training camp with Andy was just, we're gelling together, we're learning how each other operates. And, you know, we had the win against Chisora. It was a close fight. But we wound up finding that the second fight was a lot more convincing. But we're just, you know, it takes time to gel with a trainer, and it takes time to learn what he's trying to teach you, and then to put it all on display and to actually do it in the ring. You know, sometimes he can teach you and you forget and you go back to old habits, but it just takes time. And I felt like the time with Andy has been fantastic. And then a secret weapon that we've had now is George Lockhart. He is like Andy and George together. I'm telling you, it's the best I've ever felt. Like, no injuries. I feel good. I wake up every day feeling good and feeling like I want to train. I want to train. I want to train. I want to push through. I want to work hard, and I want to get better and better.
That fight that you had with, you know, Joe Joyce, like a shocker. I remember watching it and like, I was like, what on earth is going on? Talk to us about that fight. So I know, like I said, you was with Andy Lee, but you mentioned something there, and I know you'll probably touch on it. It's probably the new part of the nutrition side, part of the food side, because obviously all of that can have an effect on your mental state, your bones, injuries, etc. But no excuses. Just talk to us about that fight, because I was thinking, what's he going to do now?
There's no excuses. Joe Joyce won on the day, and he was better on that day. If I fight him now, I know I'll smash him. Like, that's me sitting here now. But like, I had the best camp, and then 2 weeks before the fight, I got really ill. And, you know, mentally, I was like, I'm going to smash this guy. And I had a few days off and started sparring again. And nothing was ever the same after the illness. And I never really mentioned, like, listen, if you come out after the fight and say you're ill and you're sick, it's an excuse, right? But truthfully, I was sick. And after one round of fighting Joe Joyce, I was gone. Round one, you know, after round one, I was gone. I came back to the corner. I said, I am not feeling good. And he's like, what can we do? We're in a fight. So I pushed myself until the 11th round, where he caught me with a nice shot. And that was it. But Joe Joyce is a tough man. I know he hasn't had recent success, but he is a tough man. Punches very hard. Pressure. And if that fight ever eventuates in the future, maybe down the track, I'd love to fight him again, because I know what I can do. But for him, congratulations to him for beating me on that day. It was a good fight.
You know, when you lose fights, and I suppose this is just going off on a tangent, do you always feel like you've got to get it back? Because one of those fights, and it was frustrating for me to watch, was when you boxed Anthony Joshua, and the referee just kept on interfering in the fight. Say, for example, if you'd ever get close to a clinch, not really even in the clinch, the ref would jump in and separate. So I guess neither of you were able to reset properly and maybe see out the fight how it should have gone, or how it could have gone. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I was 26 years old. He was about 28. There was a long time ago, you know, and I feel like, listen, a lot of people are saying the ref, and listen, the ref did play his part in the fight, but like a top fighter can adjust and adapt in the moment, you know. And at that time, I probably wasn't. Definitely wasn't the fighter I am now. If you put us together now, it'll be a totally different fight. Like obviously I back myself, he backs himself, but it'll be a totally different fight. You know, instead of being defensive, I will go for it. You know, but those fights are all learning experiences. Even though I lost that fight, it was great learning. You know, like it was tough. Like, it was tough to take your first loss. You never want to lose, and then you go into another fight with Dillian White and you lose again. You're like, what the hell's going on?
How do you deal with that, Joe?
Like, you know what?
When you've got to take your belt, you've won that. That's your belt.
Yeah.
And you've got to give it to somebody else, takes it off you in the ring. I don't know. How do you deal with that? I'd find that very hard to deal with. But
like, at 26 years old, I gave it the best effort that I had that time and the best that I could give at that time. And the best wasn't good enough.
Okay.
I feel like the best now is way different. Like I'm probably 3, 4, 5 times the fighter I was when I was champion of the world. And I'm very excited for the future. I'm very excited for the next fight to be confirmed. I'm very excited to show what we have been working on. Like a lot of fighters, all the fighters say, we've been working on this, we're going to show this and show that. But I feel like we're going to show something very different in the next fight.
I can see the definite improvements. One thing that you mentioned there, you were like a back foot fighter. To me, you had to be pushed to the limit. How I saw the old Joe Parker, because you've evolved tremendously, is you're a natural fighter. That's just something that's in you, because when you were pushed onto the back foot, that's when you'd come out and you'd literally come out your shell and give it all you got, and then you'd start to push your opponent back. But what I've started to see now is your IQ. I really like your boxing IQ. It's high for a heavyweight, and it's lovely to watch. You mentioned obviously being with Andy Lee for all these years. No, go on. I don't want to interrupt what you got to say.
No,
go in the flow.
You know, it's very. I think it's very crucial that you get the camp right. You can train as hard as you want, as long as you want, and you can have the best sessions in camp. But all of it can come unraveled if you get the last week wrong, or if you get the last 2 weeks wrong. Like camp, like Andy and George together have come up with the best. Like George knows about the body more than anyone I know. He knows about recovery. He knows about something called HRV. He knows about heart rate. And like back in the days, you train with heart rates, and the trainer would push me to the limit and keep me in the red zone. Mm-hmm. Now there's different phases that we train, and also there's different levels that we keep the heart rate working on, different energy systems. You know, like, there's so much knowledge that I've picked up from Andy and George that it's crazy. You know, I feel like I'm probably one of the only fighters that trains on fight day, like does a proper training session and spikes my heart rate.
What type of session? Yeah.
Like I'll warm up, then I'll do like an intense round of skipping, then I'll do 3, 4 rounds of pads of Andy, then I'll warm down, and then I'm ready to sleep.
To get ready to go in for fight night. The fight that you had with obviously Deontay Wilder, I think you've fought absolutely everybody, haven't you? In the heavyweight, except for obviously Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Those are the only two that you haven't.
Except for Tyson, except for Usyk, except for Dubois. Dubois.
Oh yes, Dubois.
Very good in this last fight. He looked like he was possessed, and he looked like he had a point to prove, and he just came out and he was relentless. And it just shows like an active fighter. Like he went from Big Baby Miller to Hrgovic to Joshua, and each time he improved.
Correct.
Each time he improved.
But like yourself. That's what I mean. It's like sometimes somebody suffers like a devastating loss, and then you think, yeah. But like I said, with Dubois, we've seen it with him, and your improvements have been really good. But I've got to say hello to the chat, because obviously the chat's here. They've joined in. So good evening to Jay Lanks, Chris Welsh. Good evening to you. Big up both. Hope you're well. Everyone loves Joseph Parker.
Thank you, everyone.
What's up, Abz? What's up,
Oh, it's
Gypsy
Johnny
Joe?
Jones.
How was camp with Johnny Bones?
You know, Jon Jones, I met him in Saudi Arabia. And then, George Lockhart used to work with Jon Jones in the beginning of his career.
Okay.
George Lockhart has worked with Jon Jones, Holly Holmes, Conor McGregor for 5 or 6 years, Tyson Fury, Gennady Golovkin. He's worked with everyone. And, George used to work with Jon Jones, and then Jon Jones invited us to come and do a bit of training together. And it was very good. Like, Jon Jones is a beast.
Is he?
And that's why they call him the GOAT. Like, when I saw him training, like, he trains 3-4 times a day, and it's all different. Like, there's the wrestling, there's the grappling, there's like the striking, there's the boxing, there's swimming, there's weights. Like, he works very hard, and we were able to pick up a lot of things in that camp that we are going to use in our camp. And that's why I'm so excited about this camp. I know it's going to be hard, it's going to be grueling, it's going to be tough at times, but I love working hard. I love working hard the right way.
Yeah, we like that. Right, here we go. Is a funny one. Has Parker got any more music call out videos coming?
You know what? Because we don't know who to fight next. I'm not sure who to call out. I am locked in for a rematch with Zhang. I've done one for Joshua. I've done one for Dillian White. Who else? I should probably do one for Dubois. I should do one for Dubois. Well. I'll just get on to my friend Kerry Russell in New Zealand, because he comes up with all the ideas, films everything, and and I will message him later on and say, can we do an idea for Dubois? I like Dubois. He's very good, man. He looks very good.
You've got to do one for Usyk as well. V-Twin Addicted, good evening to you as well. Is it just me in the chat? No, there's quite a few of you. Good to see Joseph on the show. Good evening to the Lord English Gent. I think he changed his name. He said he had some issues with the name that he had, but yeah. Parker versus White. If Joshua doesn't want it, would be tasty. And we can talk about the get back. But Base the Kid as well. Shout out to my Capricorn uncle. Hey, you Capricorns are so like proud of yourselves, aren't you? There's something about the Capricorn sign. They're very proud that the Capricorns. I thought Libras were bad, but blood hell.
Leadership.
Oh, is that what it is?
Dillian White, him and I do get along, and then sometimes we don't get along. And sometimes I'll text him and he'll say, "How's it going?" Funny. And sometimes I'll text him and he'll go, "What the F do you want?" And it's just it's sort of
I
up
think
and
he's
down.
like that with everyone, Joe.
Yeah, but I'll listen. I would love the opportunity to fight him again. I know he's going through whatever he's going through. But if there's no fight out there to be made, I'll love to rematch Dillian White. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's still got a lot to give, and I know he's hungry for a fight. So if we can have one made, it'll be awesome.
I've got it. Before I move on to the next question, which is kind of like where we started this off camera. Like I said, you've had 2 good fights, 2 good wins. We've seen the improvement. Everyone's just like, yeah, most improved fighter, Joseph Parker. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, where is he? Why is he not fighting? We know that he's close with Tyson Fury. We'd expect you to be, we'd almost like, yeah, when you see the announcement, we're expecting to see Joseph Parker on there. You're not on the card. What is happening, and when are we going to see you out, and why aren't you fighting? So many questions. I'm bombarding you with them, but we want to know because we're fans of yours. We're fans of the sport. So let us know what you can.
I had the fight in March against Zhang, and very happy to win that interim champion, WBO champion. And then I flew to New Zealand, and George Lockhart flew to New Zealand in April, and we started working away. And it was mentioned that I could be on the fight on Wembley, the Wembley card on September. And so I was preparing for that. Then it changed to October, the card this weekend. And then it sort of changed to December. And then when the announcement came out that I'm not on the December card, I'm already in camp and I'm already training for that date. So it's just, I think, just being patient, and my opportunity will come soon. But I'm telling you now, like the longer they give me, the worse it is, because I'm going to get myself in the best shape ever. It's going to be, I was 112 kgs for the Zhang fight. I'm now 122 kgs.
And you did look bigger when I saw you in London, to be fair.
But I won't be fighting it that way. I am going to trim down, but we've done it in a way where, like George is the master of nutrition and feeding me the right calories for the right training sessions, for the weights, for the running. Like at 122, I'm still fast and I'm still running hour, 2 hour runs.
Really?
And, yeah. It's crazy. I never knew I could be this weight and be this fit. But it's crazy how the knowledge that George has about the body. Him and Andy together have done like wonders for my career.
You know what? You need to put some of them runs up on your social media. I like to see those long runs, actually, like with your figures on there.
The 2 hour runs and the hour and a half runs are like working on your aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
Which helps with recovery.
Endurance and stuff, yeah.
And then the longer runs is working your aerobic threshold. So there's different things we're working on, and it's crazy because I love it more now. I love the training more now because I understand what I'm doing.
Why are you doing it?
Proper plan in place, and there's a reason behind every session.
Yeah, we love it. Hold on a second. Right, hi Abz. This is from Martin. Hi Joel. You're a change fighter, Joel, since you got Andy Lee on board.
Listen, a lot of credit goes to Andy, because with Andy, he took me back to the basics, and we work on, like, there's a few things that I did in the past where I'll box and then I'll sort of have lapses where I'll just move around, and that's not really focused, and you're not really your eyes are not on the opponent. And then also, like another big change is George Locker. He's the incredible knowledge of both these guys have made the comeback the best.
So that sounds quite harmonious. Vic has said it's mad to think that Parker has beat Wilder and Zhang, and then it seems as if he's been forgotten by His Excellency. Hopefully
Not too much. I don't think forgotten. I feel like there's so many fights to put on, and they're trying to put on all these other fights, and also they have a budget they have to control. And to be totally honest, I wasn't supposed to win the fight against Wilder or Zhang. I was an opponent. The fight with Wilder and Joshua was signed before I had a fight with Zhang, before I had a fight with Wilder. So they already had plans in place to put on Joshua and Wilder, and I wasn't supposed to win.
Damn.
But I won.
Yeah, but what's that? All right, then. You know what? Yeah, you won. But what is that like? And I get it. You're going to have to get used to it. You have to kind of like have a strong mindset in boxing. But when it's like, it's not even the B side. It's like plans are being made, and you're not part of those plans. Like you said, you're not expected to win. But then how does that fuel you to say, all right, I'm going to prove you different, or you're that confident in yourself that's like white noise. You don't listen to it.
I'm confident in the training that I've done with Andy and George. That confident that I don't really worry about the noise that's happening around me and happening around everyone else. All I worry about is getting into the ring and enjoying the process. Keeping my structure, keeping my composure, remembering the things I've been working on, combinations. And if you enjoy the process and you enjoy the structure leading into the fight, the result will take care of itself. But if you're fixated on the result, then it takes away from whatever you're doing in the ring.
I always say, Joe, it's the hunt, not the kill.
Yeah. Listen, it's like you're going in there and you're just enjoying your work. And when you're enjoying your work, you're doing everything right, everything will fall into place.
We love it. I'm going to, before I go back to the chat, so guys in the chat, stand by. I'm going to come back to you guys. Joe, I need your opinion, because I watched your sort of like your commentary post Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, because obviously you was on comms, you was on stage, you know, giving your opinion. Now, you almost seem surprised that Fury didn't come out on the front foot with Usyk. It was almost like you've obviously seen how the camp's gone, and it was like you was almost like, I don't know why he didn't like go forward or, you know, put his foot on the gas straight away, be the front foot fighter. I mean, talk to us about that fight, because obviously that's the rematch that's coming up. I'm excited about it for one. I know the people in the chat will be too, but you know Fury better than all of us put together. So
I wasn't in the camp for that fight, but me thinking that Tyson was the bigger man, I thought that he would control the center of the ring. And when you control the center of the ring, you have more ability to control the fight. And Usyk though is very crafty. Like when you see him, he comes out and he goes on the back foot, the back, goes left, right, and he does all these different feints and movements. And he's very tricky in that sense, and he was able to push Tyson back. But Tyson, even in the beginning of his career, he was a dancer and he was a mover. And then he changed his everything for the Deontay Wilder fight, for the second fight. And then, so he has both ways. But I thought, as the big man, he will control the middle.
So when you see them going back into it, changes that need to be made, because like you said, Usyk's tricky. Everyone said the same thing. Because he's so busy, he can wear your mind out before. So you're like, when is he going to throw? Is it? Yeah.
And it's
how do you defeat someone like that, Joe? Because you could be fighting him one as well.
I'd love to fight him. Listen, I think it's quite incredible, the first fight. It really lived up to the unification.
Yeah, it did.
The fight that we haven't seen in a long time. And I feel like the second fight is going to be the same. It's going to be very entertaining. It's going to go back and forth. And it's whoever makes the adjustments in camp and shows something, shows something different. Obviously, Usyk will come in with more confidence. But Tyson is confident within himself. And I feel like he just has to adjust a few things, and he did have some success in the fight.
Yeah, and I also
ultimately, when you got caught with that left hand in the 9th round, that was sort of a turning point, or a big turning point, But he showed heart, he showed grit, he showed a good chin. Even though he was wobbly, he was able to recover and continue the fight. But it was just a sensational fight to watch. Like as a fighter and as a fan of boxing, it was just it was incredible.
We've got to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. A fight yet again. Daniel Dubois goes in as the underdog. This won't last 3 rounds. He's going to get Anthony, he can take those punches from her. I'm guilty.
I'm guilty as well. I want to say congratulations.
We're all guilty.
Congratulations to Daniel Dubois on it was like a performance that came from the heavens. Like he just went out, like I said, very relentless. And he backed himself. And even though most of the crowd were cheering for Anthony Joshua, and a lot of people were saying he's going to get Dubois will get knocked out, but he showed mental toughness and grit himself. He showed resilience and he persevered, and he was able to, get him out of there with that. It was a clean shot, clean overhand right that knocked down AJ.
When you look at your career and you look at Daniel, because like I said, nobody's never name called you. You've had to deal with losses, but there hasn't been that name calling that Daniel's had to go through. Like I said, everyone, labeling him as a quitter, once a quitter, always a quitter, all of this stigma that is around him. However, you both suffered losses and then you've managed to come back. So do you see like a little bit of a similarity with Daniel and yourself, and youth as well being on your side?
Yeah, I'm 32. What is he, 27?
He's 27, so he's sort of,
The youth that he has, he's got a long way to go. And if he's the champion of the world already, what an achievement to be champion of the world at 27. I think he had the WBA belt before, but I think this one is the more solid, title for him. I feel like there are similarities, and it's just about finding what works for you. You can train with this coach, you can train with this trainer, you can do this and go overseas to this place and that place. But when you find what works for you, stick with it. And I feel like whatever he's found is working for him.
Yeah, I totally agree there. But then when you look at it from Anthony Joshua's point of view, you've fought him. You've seen the rise, the fall, the rise, the fall. I can't ask you to, you're not Anthony Joshua, but I can ask you as a champion, a former world champion, and someone that shared the ring with him. that fighter's career and what he's potentially going through right now, and I know they're talking about, you know, a rematch, etc., etc. Your raw thoughts on that? I'm gonna use a bit of IFL and say Joseph Parker raw on Anthony Josh. No, I just want to know what you really think
You know
about
what?
it, because
He's been a great champion. He's
yeah,
been unified champion twice,
yeah,
and he's trying to be champion of the world again. And you can't knock anyone down who keeps trying. And he's had success, and obviously he's had losses. But us fighters, if we have a rematch clause, we're taking that rematch straight away. I know a lot of people are saying that he should, you know, rebuild and take other fights or easier fights to get some wins under his belt. But us fighters, we back ourselves. Like, even though we'll just say this off night, and the next one will be different. And listen, if he goes for it, the rematch, all the best to them both. It's going to be another exciting and entertaining fight.
is it right for him to take the rematch? I know, like you said, as a fighter, you're going to say, yeah, definitely go for it. But is it right?
To be honest, I can only think as a fighter would think, and I feel like it's right, because that's what us fighters feel. You know, you go straight back into the fire,
Okay.
because we back ourselves. But that's when a team comes into play, the team that you have around you, and you just gotta conversate and see what the best option is moving forward.
Well, you've complimented, obviously, Daniel Dubois, like what that team there, it works for him. And you sort of highlighted it with yourself as well, with Andy Lee and, you know, Mr. Lockhart. You've got that solidarity around you that helps build you. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? And you all fit together nicely. And then that's where you can see the picture. Has AJ got that jigsaw puzzle right? I mean, I'd ask him myself if I could get near him, but the closest thing to him is another fighter. And just like that, he disappears. He's probably had a phone call. This is what happens on live broadcasts. I'm going to wait and see if Joe Parker comes back. He should. So bear with me. Just getting to the crux of it there. Let's see if he pops back in. Sometimes when your phone rings, because I think his phone was buzzing a bit while we were on there, he disappears. And if you've just joined us, I'm Abz of October Red. We are winging it right now. Here he is. He's back.
Sorry, not sure what happened. It just turned off.
I just thought you just fed up of speaking to me, and you just thought, oh, let me just get rid of this bird.
It just went pow, black
Oh,
screen.
did it?
Seriously, it just turned off.
Oh, I thought somebody was trying to call you.
No.
So if you've just joined us, sorry, I'm Abz of October Red, and I'm joined with the lovely, soon-to-be, and I'm going to say this, soon-to-be world champion again, Joseph Parker, somebody that I've got a lot of time for. You're actually a gent, you are, you know. Do you know that? You're a true gent. But we're talking about Anthony Joshua. His jigsaw puzzle has he got the right jigsaw puzzle, or do his pieces not necessarily fit?
Listen, we thought he did. Like, when the connection with Ben Davison, and then we saw the fight with Otto Wallen, he's back. Then he fought Francis Ngannou and had a great win, and like, he's definitely.
It was a
back.
great win because of what happened with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, well, also because of what happened with Tyson. But then you have the fight with Dubois, and also, like, Dubois has had a good rise himself. So it's sort of about. I feel like Dubois, like George Lockhart, called it all week. The fight against Dubois is going to win. Dubois is going to win all week.
Why did he say that?
He said Dubois fought the more challenging fighters.
Okay.
And then he said, you know, Joshua does look like he's back, but he fought Otto Wallen, who's okay, good fighter, and then he fought Francis Ngannou, who's had a second professional fight. So then after the fight, when Dubois won, I said, George, you are the winner. You know, and he did call it all week, and but he just felt that Dubois was gonna get the job done, and he did.
Interesting. I've got to ask then. I don't know if have you got your eye on the British heavyweights, because obviously you've got Fraser Clark. Sorry, let me put it in the right order. Fabio Wardley is a champion going up against Fraser Clark, the rematch that's happening tomorrow night. Talk to us about that fight and how you think that goes.
I felt like the first fight was it was like a blockbuster fight. It was like, just went back and forth. and both guys had success. Wardley knocked down Fraser Clark. Fraser got back up and continued fighting. I actually fought Fraser as an amateur in 2010.
Did you?
At the Commonwealth Champs in India. I won.
And okay, I was just going to ask. I don't know how it ended. Okay.
Fraser has been in boxing his whole life.
Yeah.
Like, boxing is all he knows. And I saw an interview recently where he's like, I love this game. I know how he feels. I love this game. And, I feel like with this fight, Fraser has to make a few adjustments and changes more than Wardley. Like, Wardley had a lot of success. I felt like more success in the fight. And I think he'll be coming into the fight. Might do the same thing or might make a few adjustments himself. But I feel like this fight's going to be one of those fights we're going to watch and be like, damn, that was a great fight.
Who do you think's going to edge it?
I lean towards Wardley edging the fight. Just how the first fight went, I felt like he had a lot more success in the first fight. And obviously it was a draw, but it depends on what Fraser brings and if he's made changes. And, he said he's worked hard. He's given it everything. It's been a grueling camp. He feels like he's going to go home with the titles tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be a fight that everyone's gonna watch. I feel like it's gonna be one of those, fireworks.
Fireworks for sure. I've got to ask about the main event. Beterbiev versus Bivol, the elites, and they're different. I say that not lightly. They are both elite fighters. So
amazing fighters. They both are, both undefeated. You got Beterbiev with the power, he knocked everyone out, stopped everyone. But then you got Bivol, who's like a technician, and he's very crafty, got great fundamentals, biomechanics. When you see him moving around, you're like, holy moly, you know what I mean? But I did say earlier on in the week or 2 weeks ago that I feel that Bivol will edge and get the win. But I know there's a lot of people coming back to me saying, you don't know boxing and this.
yeah.
But it's either one guy or the other. So I'm leaning towards Bivol. But I can't be wrong. I was wrong against Dubois. I was wrong against many other fights.
Yeah, it happens. But one of the things that I think sometimes with Artur Beterbiev, Joe, we don't give him enough credit for his ring generalship. You talk about always being in the center of the ring. He cuts it off very well. Yeah. And being crafty, he's got good feet because he manages to get inside. He can confidently lose a couple of rounds while he's trying to figure you out, work the maths out. And with Dimitri Bivol, he's got this lovely style. But if you're of a high IQ in boxing, and this is just my opinion, for God's sake, I've never laced up the gloves. If you catch his rhythm, you can work out how to potentially counteract that and get inside to really let those heavy shots off. So that's why I'm edging towards Beterbiev, but I don't know. It's going to be a good fight.
That's why it's fantastic to have all these different opinions on the fights and how we think it's going to go. Like, you see it one way, I see it another way, and many others will see it a different way. And tomorrow we're going to find out who's right and who's wrong and who's the winner and who's the one going to go home with sadness,
Imagine that. Your belt's just gone. Jai Opataya, your guy as well. He's something else as well, isn't he? I mean, Jack, don't get me wrong, Massey, you've fought Jack Massey yourself. Dear God, that was another war.
Jack Massey, tough man, right? Yeah. And he just had a baby, and he's with a different coach, and he's gelling with his new coach. So it could be a good night for him to put on a great performance. When I fought Joe Joyce and I went on to Jack Massey, I still didn't have George with me. As soon as I found George, everything changed, and then I had George and Andy. But in saying that, the Jai Opataya is like he's fierce, and it's like he wants to fight all the time, every time. You know, he's got that demeanor about him that he's just ready for business and he's ready for war, and he wants to go in there and show everyone what he's been working on. He trains hard, that boy. But all of us fighters do. We all train hard, but we all train hard in a different way.
Yeah. Let me go into this chat. Right. We've got one of your fans here saying, Vic, call out everyone, be in the conversation all the time.
That's good
And then he says, F being patient, closed mouths don't get fed. Call out Ajit, nice fight. You fought 2 killers, now fight Ajit.
I have called out Ajit Kabayel,
okay.
but to be honest, who puts on the fights? You know, Queensbury, Interim, Gold Star, and the Saudis. And if they don't like the fight, they don't put it on. But I have called out Ajit Kabayel, called out Zhang, I've called out Dubois, Joshua, now White, now maybe Joe Joyce down the line. But I do want to fight the guys above me because the goal is to be champion of the world again, or unified champion.
Yeah, of course that's possible. Who do you think? I know you obviously, like I said, you've been training, blah, blah, blah. We just thought it was going to be Zhang, but who are potential opponents that we can expect you to be in the ring with? Obviously, we now know it's not going to be this year. I'm going to lean towards this February date that's been whispered everywhere. But who could it be, Joe?
It could be a rematch with Zhang. It could be Ajit Kabayel. I think it could be Bakoli. He's looking for a fight. He looked good in his last fight against Jared Anderson. There's a few options out there. But I feel those three, or Zhang, because he's got the rematch. Ajit Kabayel, he looked very good in his last 2 fights, and he's looking for a fight as well. So those are the options that I can see. You know,
but which one's beneficial for you though? Because you're an interim. You're an interim.
The one that would be awesome is Ajit Kabayel. I really like him, and I like the way he's fought. I like the way he carries himself, and he's all business.
Okay.
But he does have the mandatory for WBC, and I have the mandatory for WBO.
That's a good route then. All right.
You know what I mean? That's whoever wins that fight is mandatory for 2.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I hope that answers some of the questions in the chat. I'm just going to run through this before I let you go, Joe. Base the Hardcore Casual says, I remember when everyone wrote Joseph Parker off as a joke a few years back. I was one of the few that always said he was top tier in the division. So happy to be proven right. I just want you to know, Joe, that's got F all to do with you. It's all about this guy here because he's a Capricorn and he also likes to blow his trumpet.
Thank you, my Capricorn.
Good evening. Good evening to James. Good evening. Are you not afraid of being too inactive now? Raul Dubrin. Good evening. That's a good question, actually.
That's a good question. I was active like from last year until now. I've had 5 fights. I had one in January. I had one in May, October, December, and March. But like inactivity does play a part. But I've been very active in terms of training, and I've been building. And I'm so excited to show all of you the difference in myself as not only the body, but the skill work and everything else that I've been working on. It's going to be very good.
There's one thing about you. You've definitely got that aura. You've definitely got that energy. It's quite infectious as well. Those of you that haven't met Joseph Parker in real life, what you see on screen is exactly what he's like outside of the ring. A true gent. Like I said, I've bumped into him many times. He usually runs from me when I've got my camera.
I'm like, hey, sorry, I'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, and then you just get off. But yeah, here we go. One of our subscribers, Don Four, has said, I think Joe can beat Usyk. I
would love the opportunity to fight Usyk.
I'd like to see you fight him, you know.
I feel like he's, like I said before, crafty, and he's very, there's the skill level and the boxing IQ and the way he breaks fighters down. But I would love to test myself against the unified champion of the world.
You have got some options. That's what I definitely will say about you, Joel. Even though you're not out as yet, you're in a nice position because you have got options. There's a few get back fights there for you. There's opportunities to potentially put yourself in line to go for 2 belts rather than the 1. And then there's styles as well. Like I said, yourself against Usyk because you've got that high IQ as well, and you're a nice counter puncher as well, an aggressive counter puncher, which is nice to see. I like that because it's spiteful.
George and Andy said it right. They said that next year we're going to become champion of the world or unified champion of the world.
Yeah, definitely. Right, guys, I'm good. I've took up 45 minutes of Joel's time. Thank you to all of you that were in the chat. Sorry I couldn't get through every single question, but thank you for joining us. Joel, it's an absolute pleasure to have you.
I just want to say to all your subscribers, thank you all for the support, and thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for continuing to support boxing and all the fights and being involved. We honestly, when we do say we appreciate the support and the love, we really do. So thank you all very much.
We love it. Listen, guys, you know what I'll be doing? I think I'm live streaming with Johnny Nelson tomorrow afternoon sometime, and then I'll be doing the watch along for all of the events tomorrow evening, probably from about 7-8 p.m. But I'll let you know. Listen, Joe, I can't wait to hear your fight announced. We'll have to do this again.
We'll do
now
it again.
That we're online buddies.
We've confirmed the fight, we'll do it again.
Oh, see, you've made my day. Anyway, everybody, it's time for me to say au revoir. Au revoir. End the stream.